And we're live.
Awesome.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Mio Santana. I'm the owner and founder of Divine Journey, a transformational coaching program. And I'm also the founder of Resilience, an 8-week journey to self love. And I'm here today with the amazing Gina Tomasetti. And for those of you who don't know why this program was started, it's a program that's only running in the month of April, and it's because I'm rebranding my self love program to the name Resilience. And resilience is a very interesting and special thing for me because whenever I've asked anyone in my past, like when you're doing all these personality tests or transformational work, and you ask people, like, what's one way you would describe me? They all say, most of them, at least 95% of them say, Mio, you're so resilient. You can get out of a hole, you could do whatever, you can, overcome any obstacle, you're resilient. And that always stuck to me. And then when we were thinking about the rebranding for the program, I realized that every single woman that's taken the program, no matter where she's come from, no matter what background she has, the underlying theme of all the women is that they are resilient. And it just came to me. I was like, oh, this is it. And so I wanted to do this as a tribute to those women that have done the program, and also to women everywhere who are resilient and who are thriving in their lives and overcoming the obstacles that they need to overcome to get to where they want to be and to create the life of their dreams and to be happy. And so I'm so honored to be able to bring beautiful people that are in my world that I see every day thriving and overcoming obstacles and becoming the best version of themselves that they can. And Gina is one of them. So I'm super excited to have her here today. And just so you know, these live broadcasts are going to be on YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. and every Wednesday and Friday at 5 p.m. So make sure to tune in live. It's so much fun. These interviews are just amazing. We've been having a really good time this week so far with them. So I'm super happy and excited to have Gina with us here. She is a professional certified coach, PCC, for those that don't know, a certified ontological and transformational life coach. So we're super honored to have her here with us. She's inspired by connection and team building and communication, and she has created a career that encompasses all things wellness and growth. She began her own coaching practice in 2018, where she sees clients one on one, in couples, or in groups. I know Gina personally for a few years, and she's an amazing soul, and she's a giver, and she really is here to make an impact on this planet. So we're really thrilled to have her here and to hear her journey or not into, but her journey of resilience. And so, Gina, welcome.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for accepting to come. And I know you have a really busy schedule, so you made it. You went out of your way to be here, so I really appreciate that. And just tell the audience, for those of you who don't know you, what you do, what you're up to, what you're creating. Tell us a little bit about you.
It's such a fun time right now. I feel like everything happens at the perfect moment, and every time that this question is asked to me, I'm at a different point in my life and in my career, and it's just so awesome to have the opportunity to get present for a second and think about, like, what's really going on, what's the excitement. So like you said, I do have my coaching practice since 2018. And I see mostly one-on-one clients, a couple, and some groups, but mostly one-on-one. And I love it. It's so fulfilling and amazing. But I recently went through a big change because I was also doing things in fitness and just kind of dabbling in other areas of wellness. And finally, I just decided to go completely all in to my practice and in my business and to see what will come of it. I just got so inspired to share this amazing work that we do with more people. And so currently branching out, working on creating a larger community of people that I can support and that can support one another, outside of just one-on-one coaching for either those who can't afford or maybe aren't familiar with coaching. So that's a really exciting part of where I'm at right now. And then also I am launching a business with my business partner, and we are doing transformational team building for corporations, companies, teams that already exist that get to deepen their connection. And I'm so excited. It's like taking the essence of this work and being able to share it with people who are already doing amazing things and who are already connected. So that's a little bit about what's going on lately. So lots going on and all really exciting.
Beautiful. Wow, you're really expanding this work not only into groups and communities that can access it, but also into the corporate world, which we all know need it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I have a corporate background. Yeah, I have a corporate background, and part of my story is that I left corporate for good. I was like, okay, I'm out of here because I just felt like it just wasn't a good fit for me. It just wasn't aligned. And so there's a lot of stuff going on in corporate where when you bring this type of transformational work, I'm sure you're going to make a huge impact. So that's amazing. Awesome.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
But, when we talk about resilience, there's a lot that got you to where you are here today, because you didn't just wake up yesterday and go, oh, you know what? I'm going to be a transformational coach and I'm going to work with corporations and I'm going to have a business.
Yeah, definitely not.
Right? There's a lot that got you to where you are. So, I know you and I know a lot about your story, but, I just want to kind of dive in and talk about, resilience and one of the recurring themes and the topics that I keep talking about in the interviews, because it's so like it goes hand in hand with resilience, is the word failure.
Okay.
And failure is one of these words where we as a society or as people, we tend to have like this adverse relationship to failure. Like, oh, we don't want to be a failure. We don't want to fail. Like failure is bad. Failure is bad. Mm-hmm. But in reality, what we're realizing through these interviews is that failure is actually sometimes a good thing because it gets you to where you are today. Mm-hmm. And so is there anything that you want to talk to in regards to like failure and your relationship with failure and what that has opened up for you in your life?
Yeah, I mean, failure is such a loaded word, for so many of us. I think that as soon as any of us hear that word, we automatically think of those one or couple things that in our life have occurred that have made us feel the impact of what that word really means for us. It's heavy and it's something that, we want to shy away from and avoid at all costs. I remember just for most of my life feeling like paralyzed in what I wanted to go after and what I wanted to do because failure was a possibility. And so it was better to just altogether avoid it. And of course that, ends up leading to regret and all these things, which like conceptually sounds like, yeah, just go for it, just do it. Who cares if I fail? But obviously the truth of it is that it's a real experience we have when we experience failure. It's not fun. It can really sting. And I think for me, what's been supportive to just have confidence and motivation and go for things is that failure is never the end. Like if I have failed, then it's just like a middle point or a starting point. It's never the end, right? So right. Failure itself for me has been a big motivation. We can almost always reframe something too once we're like looking back on it as maybe not a failure, maybe an amazing gift, maybe a lesson. I know for me personally, there's been so many letdowns and I would say like the pain and, that comes from that and like the shock of failure in any domain, whether it be career, relationships, for me has always been the thing that pushed me into my next level and into really a new chapter of happiness. So it's hard to be grateful in the moment, I think a lot of the time. And it's a practice, right? Like anything, it's scary the first time. I remember hearing the other day, this amazing, it was like a quote, something along the lines of like, next time we're not starting from scratch, we're starting from experience. So It's like every time we dive in the deep end, it gets that much more familiar. And it's like, okay, we got this. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. It just doesn't define me. It's not the end of me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When I teach on failure, I always say, okay, let's change this F word to another F word, and it's feedback.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, failure is really feedback, right? So Tell us about those moments that you mentioned that you were, trying to figure out where you were going to go in your career or like make a career decision. And you would actually not make that decision because you thought that there was a chance of failure. Like, what were you doing? What were you up against?
There's been so many twists and turns in my journey. I remember, I guess the one that probably hit me the hardest was back when we met a few years ago, which was really the first time that I went into any kind of personal development. And it was personal. It was a personal experience. I went through a breakup that completely rocked my world. It was unlike any other relationship I had ever had, any other breakup, definitely. And it was one that involved just so much emotion. It was completely out of left field. It really, really brought me to my knees. And I felt like my identity had been wrapped up in this, it was wrapped up in this relationship. And I never expected that failure, right? Or that like relationship not working out to be the thing that took me down so hard, but it did. And looking back on it, I can see how basically everywhere in my life, I was just waiting. And I remember when we went into the personal development program, it was like, that had to happen to even bring me to those doors, right? To even bring me to the registration form. I was
But
like,
you had to have that amount of failure, like that hit you to your knees for you to say,
yeah,
okay,
yeah, to be like, let's just try this out. I wasn't like, everything's perfect, everything's great, let's sign up for some amazing like course. It was absolutely the opposite of that. I was like torn apart, like absolutely devastated, and really to my core, just like who am I? Where am I going to turn next? Like, what am I doing in this life? It's all those existential sort of things that come up once we take a hit, right? And for some people it may not be relationships, but for me that's an aspect of life that when I'm in, I'm all in. And yeah, so I was like, let's just go for it. It can't hurt at this point, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, that was a major lesson that I got like week 1 out of the program. I remember that being the first shocking kind of like wake up call, that I was waiting in my life for, I don't know what, just for something to move, or to something, for something to maybe even just be given to me, like this awesome knowledge or this great career to just sort of happen, without having to take the steps. And when I say steps, I don't mean like baby steps. I mean like those big steps. Like, I'm going to put my whole heart into it. I'm going to set aside all the other work I'm doing. And like you did, just go fully in, those kind of steps where it's like failure is possible and often likely, but what's on the other side is so important to me that I'm just going to go for it. And that was something big that changed for me after that experience. I was able to just be like, we never know what tomorrow brings, and if I'm going to fail, let's ride that wave and see how it goes, and then hop back on the surfboard and try again, So that was definitely the first time that I think consciously I felt that experience of failure, which turned into like things really blooming. And obviously from that personal development program, then I started to coach and volunteer, and then got really into it. And that led to really the rest of my life path, with going back to school, getting my certification, and then having my own practice.
Yeah. And would you say, Gina, that that failure almost like woke you up to your purpose in a sense?
100%. Yeah. I think it lives inside of us. And I think that depending on how connected we are to ourselves and to our intuition, for some people, I think it might be right up here on the surface and they can access it. And they're like, oh, for sure, I know that this is what I meant to do. And I think for many of us, sometimes it can be so enormous and it can feel so sacred and important to us that it's like, I don't even want to really look at what this is. And we become really out of touch with that. Yeah, those hits, like that feeling of failure, and that moment, that for me, it's like this just being shaken kind of feeling. Definitely, it like rattles all the doors that things are trying to hide behind, and brings them up. And my purpose was definitely behind like many of those doors, and it showed me, that you have these gifts. This is what you're here to offer the world. Stop hiding from it or pretending like you don't know what it looks like.
Or waiting for it to happen.
Right, exactly. Like I said, very exactly the same thing. Just waiting for it to suddenly magically appear and to be ready for it and not scared,
Yeah.
And,
like everything is going to be perfect. Everything's going to land in your lap. It's like, that's not how life happens, right?
Right. And we know that, I think, logically, but emotionally, it's a completely different thing. It's that I feel our emotions are such an important guide for us. And sometimes we tend to like sell out a little bit, I think, on ourselves. And I have definitely in the past a lot. Of like, I don't want to feel this like icky, bad feeling. And I would make certain feelings wrong. And, you know, I wouldn't want to feel sad or wouldn't want to feel hurt. And so I would just not do, you know, things that were vulnerable, because I think ultimately stepping into my purpose was a super vulnerable decision. And I'm sure you can relate. It's like, your brand is you and your company is you. And it's this reflection of who you are and what really matters to you. And it's different. It's different than just doing something that you sort of halfway care about. And
Right.
there's a lot of vulnerability in it. So
yeah. But you said something really important, and I want the viewers to like connect with this, because breakups are hard, and we tend to, when we're in relationships, and this is something that's really it's a tendency of women, and a lot of the women I've worked with, is this tendency to become identified completely with the relationship that you're in. Like it becomes your identity. Like you just mold, you morph into this relationship symbiosis thing. And then when it breaks and when it ends, it's like you're like spinning and you're like, who am I? What am I? What am I here to do? Like what happened to me? Where have I been all these years? You know, and then there's so much like guilt and regret and like, you know, confusion and loss of identity. And so just for the viewers' sake, like just talk to us, walk us through a little bit of how you got yourself out of that hole, like internally, like what was it for you that got you to break free from that and like identify yourself, redefine yourself, and make yourself who you are today?
you know, there was a couple things that stick out right away. I mean, initially I went straight into therapy for the first time in my life. I didn't like have anything against therapy prior, but it definitely wasn't something that I was like so stoked to do and I thought was super cool. When I realized like I get to have this experience and learn what therapy is and try it, I was definitely really resistant at that time. As most of us are, I think, before we begin. And I always like to bring that up and share that because I just think it's so important. Like
super important.
Doing the work, is so different for everybody. And I feel like having a coach or having a therapist or whatever it is key to being able to support other people. Like we ourselves get to like also keep that going and have that cycle happen. But that's how I started. And then at the same time, I went into personal development. So I think really those are examples of the call that started to come up for me of like, all right, you're going to be the one on the pedestal now. There's not going to be everybody else that you've been putting on there. This is your time.
You're going to be the one on the pedestal now. I love that. That is so powerful. Yes.
Yeah. Jot that down. Write
that. That's a golden nugget, guys. Write that one down.
Post it up on the mirror. You know, it definitely took me feeling like that was my only option to actually choose it. But once I did, it was like, all right, strap on your seatbelt, girl, because we're about to go down a path that, you know, is hard. And I had to relive a lot of what I had experienced that I didn't want to look at. And I think that one thing that absolutely shifted my experience of the breakup and how identified I was with that person and with the experience itself was accountability. As cheesy and like, as it sounds, I'm really reflecting on that time and that experience and that clicking, like what the truth of accountability is, who I am in a situation to participate in whatever it turned into. I guess I felt like that would have like chained me a little bit and I would have been at fault. But I really learned that accountability and responsibility is freedom. It's personal freedom. It's like, oh, I participated. This didn't happen to me. I at least co-authored this experience, no matter what it is.
Exactly. And if you co-authored that experience, you can author a new experience from an empowered space. Exactly. Instead of being the victim of your circumstances, you become to realize that you're the creator of your existence, of your reality. Mm-hmm. And so when things would get hard, because it's hard, like personal development is not easy, guys. It's not an easy road, but it's worth it. But when it would get hard, or when you would have those moments of darkness, like what pushed you through? Like, how did you get through?
Honestly, it was at that point, once I had taken the leap, like you just shared, it is not for anybody who hasn't done it yet, who hasn't even dabbled. It is not like all fun and games and group hugs and, you know, ropes courses. It's really not. It is, that is a small inkling of it. It's tough. It's tough inner work. It's definitely where you get to work on having a strong mind, I think, to be able to
you look at your shadow straight on.
Yeah. And I don't think that I would have continued had it not been for the commitment that I had. It really, I remember having a coach in the beginning, and I had never had a life coach before. And she was, she's amazing and super intense. And I remember she would tell me like, your results are what shows your commitment. So if you didn't do this, you weren't committed to it. And I would fight with her. I'd be like, no, I was committed to it. This and this and this is why it didn't happen. And she would just tell me like, no, you weren't committed to it. And I used to be so frustrated by that, but it's so true. It really is so true, because that experience, I think a lot of people have walked away from. And that's okay, right? Because maybe it's not the time or whatever the reason is, but sticking through it and really fully like honoring myself and deciding this is the track that we're on now, this life, I'm going to focus on myself and give the same love to myself that I do to everybody else. It was a commitment. It was something that at that point was non-negotiable. Didn't really matter if it was fun or not. It was no longer about my judgment on it or my likes and my dislikes. It was a commitment that I had, and I was going to see it through. And I did. And I still do to this day. You know, it's a lifelong commitment for sure for me.
Absolutely. And, you know, you mentioned something that's come up in other interviews, actually, which is another like underlying theme of this, which is your commitment. It was a non-negotiable. Like, and I think this is key for people out there to understand. It's like the intention has to be there. Like, you have to be committed to the work of transforming your life. Otherwise, it will not just happen. It's not just going to come and land on your lap and like all of a sudden it's daisies and flowers and you're happy. No, like you got to want to do the work. But and I used this example the other day, you got to burn the ships behind you. You know, the ships have to be burning behind you, and there's no turning back. It's like you knew inside your heart that you did not want to go back to that type of relationship ever again. You didn't want to experience that heartbreak. So you knew that there was only the way forward to go, you know, and you went for it. And look what you achieved. You turned your life around, you redefined yourself, and you transformed and created a life that is blissful, and that you're thriving and you're creating something for humanity, you know? And so tell us about maybe some other challenges that you may have, you know, come across in your journey to get you to where you are today. Some other challenges that at the time you probably didn't understand and want to accept that they were happening. But then after, in retrospect, you're like, oh, okay, I know why that happened.
Yeah. There's been many. I think something more recent was that I shared a little bit earlier with you, is that I went completely into the work that I do now instead of having other little safety nets on the side.
Like projects, you mean?
Yeah, like projects or jobs or being in different industries. Right. I think that I always kind of justified it as like, well, it's all wellness. It's all about growth. Everything I dabbled in was always definitely about, you know, bettering myself, bettering others, and supporting, and all of this work was at the heart of it. I guess the blanket of it really is wellness. So it was always important to me, but there was a level of vulnerability that was missing for sure, and a level of trust in myself. So
tell us about that. So just to like support, like, tell us about what that was like for you inside, like the vulnerability, you know, whether it was lack of confidence or courage, whatever that was for you, like walk us through that.
You know, I think I wouldn't say that it was a lack of confidence. I would say it was a lack of vulnerability for sure. I think that there's layers to it. There is always a deeper layer to vulnerability and to intimacy. Intimacy is something I'm extremely passionate about, that shows up all throughout my coaching and everything I do. And it goes hand in hand with vulnerability. It's being, you know, it's so far beyond just like being vulnerable with other people. It's also being vulnerable with myself. And
yes,
that's really what was missing. I think I broke through the vulnerability with others And it was like, okay, awesome. I totally get vulnerability. I love being vulnerable. I'm good at it. Check, And then it became, okay, well, where am I disconnected in here? Where am I not being vulnerable in here? And it would be those ego conversations of like, well, I'm doing this on the side because it kind of fits in. But really, the truth was I wasn't trusting myself 100% to do this work under my name, stand 100% behind it. And like, it was like that failure conversation, right? Of like, these safety nets are important so that I don't experience failure around something that matters so much to me.
And you have to be vulnerable with yourself.
Yeah. And that was it. I remember the conversation with myself.
Exactly. Sometimes the most difficult person to become vulnerable with is yourself.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. Tell us about that conversation.
I think it's always the most difficult, for sure, because we can talk ourselves out of anything we want, it's like there's always a part of us that knows that it's not completely accurate, but our ego will let us get away with it if it's just convincing enough. And I remember, a couple months ago, probably like October and November, I had to really get real with myself. And I remember just feeling, it was all hitting me at once, just feeling unhappy, feeling unfulfilled, unappreciated, just completely out of alignment. And I was doing all the things right. I was like, what the hell is happening? Like everything I'm doing, I said I wanted to do, I'm completely focused. I'm giving my all. I'm working harder than I've ever worked. Like what's going on? And it was that I was completely disconnected with myself because I had had so many conversations talking myself out of the truth that I was just no longer here. I was no longer connected to it. So I got to reconnect and decide, all right, I'm going to put a stop to everything else that I've got on the side and bring all that back burner passion right to the front. And let's see how that feels. And let's see what that looks like. And it was tough for sure. I had to say goodbye to a lot of things that definitely mattered to me and that were on my heart and that I loved. And, that's part of the journey. That's part of the path. I think that if it was so simple, then we wouldn't even be having this conversation. It would just be a no-brainer. Right. But I think that there's an important reason why it's not a no-brainer, why it is challenging. It's like that tug of war that's so tempting to not put yourself first, because all these other things matter too. But yeah, I think what supported me a lot was staying curious in the experience and just like, well, how would that feel? What would that look like?
Yeah. Yeah. And you find yourself having to say goodbye to several things, but that opens you up to the things that you wanted to say hello to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's very true. And a very good way to put it, for sure.
Exactly. And so sometimes we have to do that in life. Sometimes things that are not aligned with our greater purpose are not in synchronicity with ourselves and what our purpose and what our desires are. Sometimes we have to say no and say goodbye, but when you close a door, you open a window, and so you open yourself up and your energy up to all the things that are here for you in the universe, all the things that are coming your way. So it's super powerful. So, another theme in resilient people and women in particular is that as we're developing our resilience muscles, if you will, we tend to be it's common. It's so common. It comes across with a lot of women that I talk to. We're like the doers and the go-getters, and we can, and if it has to get done, it has to be by me, and I'm the one that's going to do it, and I'm the one that's going to complete it. But we know, and especially through all this transformational work that we've done, that success doesn't happen in a silo. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. We are tribal creatures. You know what I mean? And so as you were going through these challenges and overcoming what you've overcome and getting to where you are today, talk about your experience with, asking for help or requesting what you need and things of that nature.
This is a fun topic for me, particularly to discuss. I don't know if this is your question to everybody or if you're just calling me out, but
no, everybody gets this.
I'm like, girl, Mio knows me very well. It's funny. I definitely struggle to ask for help. It's pretty much the most obvious thing for anybody that knows me. And I think many of us do, but I think when you're so capable and so committed and you're somebody who, like for me, I've always felt just intrinsically so responsible, and it's important to me. And it's definitely a control factor too, of like, I want it a certain way. I can take care of it. I don't need the help. I think it goes back to vulnerability though. I really do. I think it's if I ask you for help and I really need that help, and I feel rejected in your response, then it's like, oh my God, who am I? Like, then it's a whole worthiness conversation. Oh, I must not be good enough. I must not be important enough. Da, 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 da. Whereas usually we're not rejected when we make a vulnerable ask, but B, even if we are, it's like we're no less okay than we were when we started. And I think that I many times have just completely dismissed that and not even wanted to feel that failure or the potential of rejection. And then at a certain point just was completely unfamiliar with being helped. This whole experience lately has shifted that for me so much, because once again, I've been very stubborn many times on my path, and the universe just is like, well, if you're not going to make the decision, I'm going to make it for you. And threw me so many curveballs. I was making this whole career change like right after I bought a new house, and it was like the worst possible time. And so I needed help. It was something that I got to really lean on my tribe for and deepen my friendships, deepen my relationship with my family, with myself. I mean, and I don't think that looking for help and asking for help is the same for everybody. I don't think it looks the same. For me, it was just being able to open up and talk and bounce ideas. Other times it was actual, like physically, can you come here? Can you help me with, this or that? But just opening that door of like, hi, the supporter needs support too. It's daunting. And, but it like, to what you said, it's so important for, I think, people to hear and for me to hear that success, it doesn't happen alone. It happens when you have a team, whatever that might look like, that you can depend on, that you can rely on, that shows up for you, or it literally is just simply wishing you the best from wherever they're at. Even that energy makes all the difference, but we have to put ourselves in a position to receive that. And again, not just like wait around for that miracle to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And so going from being the one in charge and always, taking care of everything, allowing yourself to open up to help. What was that like for you? What opened up for you as a result? You said deepened relationships, but like really like, tell us more about what opened up for you from that.
I mean, frankly, just a success. I was published recently in this article, and I was really reflecting on team and how that is the recipe for success. A strong team is a recipe for success. Everybody plays an important role. None, one is not bigger than another or more important, I don't think. My whole new business concept was a result of me trusting a friend that I wasn't even that close to at the time, and then transforming our relationship into business partners and really landing where we were meant to, and then birthing this incredible concept that we were both so passionate about. It was like this thing that I've been looking for my whole adult life. It's like a puzzle, and I'm looking for that missing puzzle piece everywhere, and I found a lot that kind of fit. And then trusting somebody else to let them know, like, hey, this is what's on my heart, this is my passion, for them to be able to come in and say, oh my God, that's my passion too. And now we're creating double, triple, quadruple, infinite, what would have just been whatever in my head. Like, that's what happens, that's what happened for me. It was just this incredible vulnerability, trusting, support, and it's leading to so much success, so much joy. It's always more fun to share those wins, and comforting to share the failures too, when you're not alone. So a lot of success has come out of it, and really, I think the most fun thing has been being able to share the victory, being able to like have people truly so happy for me and with me and on my team, and vice versa, right? Like, it's that support of everybody as a tribe is connected and so supportive of each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And through your process of allowing yourself, there's a lot of allowing here. It's like allowing yourself to take the help or to be open, allowing others to interact with you and to give you and give you support. So there's a lot of allowing here. And so through this allowing that you gave yourself, that you were able to do, you opened all this up for yourself. And now, you're living your what was truly on your heart, what you really wanted to accomplish from the beginning. And, um, you know, when we're talking about community and team and tribe, we're not necessarily talking about like a team that you have to hire and like, oh, these people are on my payroll and they're paid to tell me that I'm doing a good job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're talking about, it could be your family, your friends, your coworkers, it can be people that you hired, who knows, but it's a medley of people all around you that all
Yeah.
fulfill different roles. And like Gina said, they could be in another time zone, they could be in another country, in another city, but they're rooting for you, they're there for you. But allowing yourself to open yourself up for that, because sometimes people are trying to give us this. They're trying to give us
Yeah.
support, they're trying to give us help, they're trying to give us love, and we're just closed off to it, right? So it's like opening ourselves up
100%.
and allowing it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
that's a big one. It's a huge one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so after everything you've learned in your journey, you've had some ups and downs, you've had some heartbreak, which I'm sure a lot of people can relate to who will listen to this later or are listening now. Out of everything you've learned, where do you take all these successes and failures? Because it's all wrapped up into one. Where do you take this now moving forward in your journey? Like as part of your toolkit, like how do you use this in the rest of your journey?
What came up for me when you were asking that was trust. Um, I think that after a certain, I guess, number of experiences or impact, of maybe just even one experience for some people, once I think we've truly had the experience we need, um, that like things are going to happen. We're authoring all of it. We might not understand in the moment, but like life moves on. Once I really understood that, I knew that everything that's happened was already written and already meant to be for me. And it's the same with the present and with the future. So it deepened my experience of trust, not necessarily trusting myself or another person or the universe, but all of that at once at the same time, like just embodying trust and
Mm.
being so present and connected. And it's like, I feel like I could make any decision, especially in this work, with my eyes closed now. I don't need as much evidence as I did before. I don't need to be as controlling as I was before, because it's like all these amazing things have happened. All these really painful things have happened. They've all led to now, and now is so glorious and amazing. So there's really no other possibility in the future, no matter what road I go down. So that's a huge takeaway for me, is that like I get to experience all the emotions. They all have a purpose. They're all powerful. They're all important. It's a cycle. I always say that, like, move through the ones you don't want to feel so you can rise to the ones that you do. And then guess what? You're going to have another wave and another wave. And that's the beauty of this like human experience that we're living. And just trusting it, trusting the path, trusting the ups and downs, trusting ourselves and each other, um, and being graceful, like giving ourselves that grace that it doesn't have to be a certain way all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. And trust is a very challenging thing for many, many people out there. Trust is something, especially with the women I work with, they're always like, I don't know how to trust myself. I don't know how to trust people. So touching on trust, you said like, really embodying it like holistically, like your whole life, like not just I trust the universe, but I don't trust people, or I trust people, but I don't trust the universe. It's like
Right.
just having trust and embodying trust. But even going a step beyond that, it's more like a practice. Like
Oh
trust
yeah.
is like a practice. It's like really like just accessing it and practicing accessing trust in every moment. And I'm sure you come across this every day. Like whenever you're going to make a decision or whatever, it's like, okay, wait, trust,
Yeah.
trust, remind yourself. And so for those of you out there that may have challenges, accessing your trust or trusting, like just start little by little, little by little. It's a practice, it's another muscle that we get to work out.
Yeah.
But yes, to your point, that's so important. And when you're able to navigate your life with trust, the universe just opens up for you, and it's like, okay, here you go, you know, here's your yellow brick road, and just keep walking, and things just start opening up for you, because
Yeah.
you're setting the tone for what's to come. And so that's amazing. Thank you so much for that. These golden nuggets you're giving our viewers.
Awesome.
Yes, absolutely. And so whenever I wrap this up, I always ask this question. And so, you know, be as elaborate as you want, say as much as you want. There's no holds barred here. So I always ask, what words of wisdom would you like to leave our viewers who may be on a similar journey of resilience as you are?
Well, one of my favorite quotes goes really well with this whole theme of resilience, and something that I always come back to. And it is, when we long for life without difficulties, let us remember that oaks grow strong in contrary winds and diamonds are made under pressure. It's such a testament to resilience. It's like the proof that so many of us want, that it's worth it to go through the storm and the growing pains. And it doesn't feel good. You know, I think I used to choose a lot of life based on what felt good or what didn't feel bad. And I think that for me, like the richness of life and the true power lies in all of it, right? It's like, I don't want a sandwich every day just because I like a sandwich. I want to try all the different foods and know that some of them I'm probably not going to like, but maybe I have a really profound experience with it. I would say that for me and for most people, probably the thing in our life that happened that brought the most pain or that was the scariest has always been the thing that we're the most grateful for, or led to something that we're tremendously grateful for. And it's a good reminder for myself and for everybody that everything that's happening right now is happening for a purpose that might not make sense, or maybe it does. And we are all divine beings here choosing this experience. So have fun with it and be light with it, and don't put too much pressure, because the pressure is going to come, and just ride it and have fun and just enjoy. Like, that's what we're doing here. And yeah, just give yourself a little bit of grace. And it's a good reminder to myself too, to soften. If you can't fully forgive, or you can't fully trust, or you feel that you can't fully breathe, can you soften just a touch, just a hint? Okay, can you soften a little more until you get to where you want to be? So that's what came up. That's what I'll say. And thank you so much for the opportunity to share and to be here and to connect with you.
Amazing. My eyes literally just watered. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much. That was so heartfelt. And you guys watch this video again, rewind, take notes, because you got some golden nuggets here from Gina. I'm so grateful to have had you on the show and to share your wisdom and your journey, and for being so vulnerable and open with sharing what you've gone through and how you got to where you are today. So I'm really honored. And for those of you who are interested, we're going to keep going all of the month of April. So please stay tuned. We're going to be here every Tuesday and Thursday at 1 p.m. and every Wednesday and Friday at 5 p.m. Resilience is your superpower. Don't forget that. We love you. We're sending you love and light. Thank you again to Gina, and we will see you guys soon.